Hello everybody, happy History Hump Day. My name is Lydia, born in 0 BC. We are outside. Look, I gotta get outside more. The sun is real. I've never seen the sun before, so I just want to, get some vitamin D while it's summer before it gets cold, in July. Every time July comes, there's always like a snowstorm. Something always happens. Some sort of big blizzard or something. Anyway, happy late Father's Day, by the way. Yeah, hope you had a great Father's Day. We love the good food. We love the fathers, we love the mothers on Mother's Day, but really we love the food. Is this on? Can you hear me? We love the food. Pizza on Mother's Day, hamburgers on Father's Day. That was my Mother and Father's Day. They were great. And I have a great mother and father too, so that helps. Anyway, history, guys. What happened in history? This book, again, still on this book. Haven't even gotten very far. It's like 500 pages. The Dawn of Everything by David Graeber and David Wengrow. Please read it. Get it at your library. It's pretty good, even though they aren't Christian and they believe in millions of years and all that stupid stuff. And they think that we came from apes. They think that there's like a pre-human history. But it is kind of interesting to listen to their pre-human history. Because obviously, even if I believe in the literal Genesis, that it was Adam and Eve, humans, boom, 6,000 years ago, there still were early humans thousands of years ago. And it's interesting to see the evidence that we have of what kind of humans they were. And what's interesting is they were not dumb. And that's the point that this book is making, is they were not like apes, which is interesting, because I'm pretty sure if you believe in evolution, you think that they came from apes. But their whole point is, actually, we all think that they just existed in these small little hunter-gatherer bands, and they were all the same, and they were all just perfectly innocent. There's two different myths. What was the first one? Oh, there's the noble savage myth, that they were like all good, but like savage, I think, but they were like innocent or something, because they were all equal or whatever, but they were still like savage in that they didn't know how to, be civilized. And then there's the myth that they were stupid savage, that they just didn't really have thoughts, they couldn't really think deeply. So, they're still innocent. But neither is true. They actually were not dumb. In fact, people were probably smarter back then. That's my whole point too, that I believe in, that humans have been devolving. We believe in devolution, if that's a word. Devolution. Humans have gotten worse, we've gotten dumber, we've gotten weaker, because of civilization oftentimes, but hey, nothing wrong with that. We're still living life, and it's still a good life, okay? I still love my life, but just get out in the sun more, okay? Civilization gets us stuck in the buildings too much. Anyway, so these dumb people thousands of years ago had these really fancy burials, is what they talked about. They would have some of the most lavish costumes are from the conjoined burials of two boys, flanked by great lances, whatever that is, made of straightened mammoth tusks. So they like to make things out of mammoth tusks. And mammoths existed when humans did. Evolution disproved. But anyway, what's crazy? And then they also had monuments. So they had these big monuments that weighed like tons, and they would interlock things. It was very intricate. It'd be interesting to find a picture. I'll see if I can find a picture. I don't know. How do we even know what these are? When people find these things, how are they like, oh, that's something that the hunter-gatherers made? But the reason why, so they knew that this wasn't just for them to live in. They weren't just doing whatever to survive, like I do. That's what I do most of my life. That's what they asked, is like, what is what people thought of back then? What do we think of now? And there's this debate between philosophers. They think that all of our thoughts are self-awareness, thinking about what we're thinking about or something. And then neuroscience, which is the opposite. There's the philosophy versus science again. The neuroscientists think, no. We're just mostly surviving. We're mostly just doing things off of habits. which I think actually the scientists are true. They're right, at least for me. But that could just be because I'm dumb, because I'm not a philosopher. But we're working towards it. Anyway, but the people back then, we always assumed that they just were kind of instinctive. Because for people who think that they used to be animals, like we came from animals. Not everybody who thinks that, but like it might be a common logical conclusion. But again, humans are devolving. And again, these people believe in evolution, but they think, okay, so there's this guy named, oh yeah, and all these monuments, what's crazy about the monuments is they were made out of, a lot of times, mammoth tusks. I can't pronounce that. And interlocked, blah, 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 looked really good. And it wasn't for survival, it wasn't to live in, it was just to celebrate after they caught all the mammoths to eat them. And just like probably 20, 30, 40, I don't know how many mammoths, but that was enough to feed hundreds of people for months, which was really cool. So they'd celebrate by making these big monuments. That shows a sign of thinking beyond survival, which is something that I do not do. But you're like, I need to do something beyond just making money and doing the practical. I need to do art. I need to do something that just leaves a legacy, leaves more than just I lived, I survived. No, I thrived, I whatever. Anyway, so that just shows that they maybe weren't as fancy and evolved technologically yet, but their brains were probably even smarter than ours are now. But this guy, what was the guy's name? Yuval Noah, this book is quoting him, and they disagree with him because here's another quote. I love the quotes from these random people that I don't know. The socio-political world of the foragers is another era about which we know next to nothing. Scholars cannot even agree on the basics, such as the existence of private property, nuclear families, and monogamous relationships. It's likely that different bands had different structures. Some may have been as hierarchical, tense, and violent as the nastiest chimpanzee group, while others are as laid-back, peaceful, and lascivious as a bunch of bonobos. I don't even know what those things mean. But anyway, the book was like, okay, so he recognizes that there were differences. They weren't all the same. Because sometimes we go, oh, they were all just like this. No, there were differences. But they say, oh, the differences are still instinctual. That's what this Noah guy is getting wrong. It's still ape-like. And this book disagrees. It's like, no. They chose to be that way. It comes down to your choice because they were humans with brains and they could think. They could think, do we want to be violent? Do we not want to be violent? And the book keeps going on about how in some of these like communities, there would be like an odd person who thinks very weirdly about things. And they would often end up being the leader. Or maybe sometimes they would be shamed. I don't know. But oftentimes they would, because of their weirdness, which they said now we would consider them mentally ill or eccentric. But back in the day, they would have been considered like a healer or something special. Which, okay, good for them. Okay, everybody's the odd one. Everybody's the one that, really we're all weird, but we're all the same because we're all weird. But you get it. You know the really weird ones. The ones that are meant to be leaders. So, anyway, but I don't know. Maybe a lot of the people who lead us now are still weird, to be fair. But they would be the ones who would, disagree. Like, there were people who disagreed with the idea of gods, even way back thousands of years. And that's why I always thought, I was like, no, we need to just, only preach Christianity so that people only ever hear about that and they don't even... the idea of atheism never happens. But the idea of atheism did happen even before the idea spread. And how do ideas spread? I don't know. How does someone come up with the idea? Really, it is just because it's down to the person. And probably everybody does think about these things. Because sometimes you'll see somebody and you'll be like, you'll meet someone, different people. And some people you're like, this person really likes to think about this stuff. And this person likes to think about this stuff. This person seems a lot more practical. Like they're very into their tractors and John Deere, whatever. And this person's really just always thinking about what's the meaning of life, But so you tend to think, I get the guy that's like the farmer guy just cares about his potatoes and doesn't care. But the farmer guy probably also thinks about deep things, but he just chooses more to focus on farming. So again, it comes down to human choice because we're humans. Well, free will is kind of an illusion. It's not really true, but I don't know, maybe I do believe in free will now. I don't know, because it comes down to our choice. And that's where this book is so close. They're like, the problem with that Noah guy is he's reducing humans down to apes, and we're not apes. If there's a community or people who choose to be violent, they are choosing to be violent, and anyone in that community, all of them, could choose to not be violent. It might be harder because you're used to everyone being violent around you, or you're used to that's your community, but you can still choose because you're still a human with a brain. And in a peaceful community, someone could still choose. It might be easier to choose peace when you're in a peaceful community because there's not as much pressure, social pressure. But you can still choose to be a bad person. So basically, every single bad thing that you do is your fault. And every good thing that you do, still no credit to you. It's still because of God. But you get the idea. So I don't really know how the logic of all my beliefs are still working. I'm still working on it. There's a lot of contradictions, okay? Bear with me. Okay, I'm still a devolved human, okay? I don't have thoughts quite yet. I don't have self-awareness. Oh yeah, and the idea from the neuroscientists that think that we don't think at all about like deep things, or only think about survival. They say every once in a while you'll think about things, deep things, but it'll only last like 7 seconds. I'm like, no, I think about deep things for longer than that. But then I'm like, do I? Because sometimes it just gets so confusing and you just, moving on, gotta go use the bathroom, I gotta go make supper, okay? Because I'm hungry, okay? I don't have time to think about Socrates. But when do you think about it a lot? And that's what this book also mentioned. I wish I came up with these ideas myself, but it's all from the book. And of course, they can explain it way more articulately, so maybe just get the book and read it instead of watching me try to talk about it. But it was cool. The thoughts that you have, the deep thoughts that you have on your own, you get lost in your thoughts and you end up fizzling out and just, you want to go eat supper now because you're hungry. But when you talk about it with people, the dialogue, that's what makes us human. That's when you can talk about deep things for hours and hours and hours because you're doing it with another human, and then they talk back and you talk back, and there's this whole intricate thing. You can't even explain it, but we all get it. Once you start talking about those deep things, you could even talk to the farmer guy who you think doesn't think about deep things, but then you do. If you ask him, he probably would have a thought, and it might be different or maybe seem more simple than yours, but it might actually be way smarter than you, and you just, yeah. So humans are dialogical creatures. That's probably not a word. We're not logical. We're not philosophical. We're not scientific. We're dialogical. We're social. We're meant to be not lonely. So, which I guess is, yeah, I guess that's pretty obvious. I guess I didn't really need to say that like it was a new thought. But anyway, it was like a new thought to me. So, anyway, I probably missed some things again, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Just remember, we are humans, and God made us in His image, so there you go.